The Echoes, Life After Childhood Trauma, Episode 5. The body remembers, but it can also relearn. There was a morning when I realised I wasn't scanning the room. No silent inventory of faces, no background hum of risk. The air was just air, not a message. And for a second, I didn't quite know what to do with that, because when you've lived most of your life reading danger in the details, in tone, in silence, even in the way someone closes a cupboard door, peace doesn't feel peaceful. It feels unfamiliar. The body doesn't celebrate it, it hesitates. It waits for the catch. That's one of the things about trauma. It teaches the body to stay ready, to look for meaning in every shift of light, every breath that doesn't quite land where it should. It isn't paranoia, it's muscle memory. The nervous system still believes it's doing you a favour. And maybe it is, because that's what kept us alive when there was no one else to. But this same vigilance that once protected us now mistrusts the quiet it's been waiting for all this time. In my work, I've sat with people in that exact moment, the first glimpse of calm after decades of storms. They talk about it like standing on unfamiliar ground. Everything in them wants to lie down, but their body says, not yet. And that's what healing actually looks like. Not joy necessarily, not revelation. It looks a little like confusion. The body relearning that safety doesn't mean exposure. That stillness isn't the same thing as being trapped. I remember one of my clients years into therapy telling me they'd woken up and for the first time hadn't felt the weight of dread in their chest. And instead of joy, they panicked. They thought, what's wrong? Something's wrong. Because their body didn't recognize the absence of threat. That's the process. Teaching the body that peace is not a void to be filled, but a space to rest in. I see it in myself all the time. In the way my shoulders forget to lift when someone raises their voice, I can now stand still while someone looks at me and not feel like a specimen under glass. The watcher still lives somewhere in me, but it isn't scanning anymore, it's observing. And the performer still shows up, but it isn't rescuing, it's expressing. So these parts haven't vanished, they've just learned new choreography. They work in service of a living now, not surviving. And sometimes I think of trauma recovery as the slowest unlearning imaginable. It's not an exorcism, it's a re-education. Every cell that learned how to tighten has to be convinced it can open. Every muscle that memorized retreat has to rediscover approach. And the thing that surprises me the most after all these years of doing this work is how quietly it can happen. There's no fanfare, no great symbolic moment most of the time. Just a series of gentle permissions. Permission to breathe, to rest. Permission to laugh without preparing for loss. The body remembers everything. But it also remembers how to learn. And that's where the hope is, not in forgetting, but in giving the body a new language. Something slower. Something kinder, something that doesn't demand apology for being at ease. If you're listening to this and you recognize the hesitation, if you've ever flinched at calm, if you found yourself sabotaging comfort because it feels too still, just understand this. You're not broken. You're just reacquiring and reacquainting yourself with safety. And it takes time to believe in something you didn't grow up with. It takes time for the body to understand that the war really is over. The healing isn't necessarily in the grand moments, it's in the almosts. The seconds where the body pauses before tightening and for the first time decides not to. And that's where life begins again. In the breath, you don't have to manage. In the quiet, you no longer mistake for danger. In the space between readiness and rest, this is the beginning of trust. The air is no longer something to read, and the world is no longer a test. The body remembers, yes, but it can also relearn.